Hi, it's Natalie from Rebox HR, and I'm jumping on for another video so that I can run through the common HR problems that managers, business owners that are all really experiencing at the moment as there's so much uncertainty out there, not just with the economy, but with governments and all sorts of things. We're not going to get political today, but one of the things I do want to bring up that's actually quite common is when people try to manage people via a disciplinary process. Now, a disciplinary process is meant to be fair and you're meant to work through various steps to be able to get there. And I'm not going to cover that in today's video, but I will run a scenario by you. And it's something that Faye and I see fairly regularly at Rebox HR. And I want to really highlight that business owners are not on their own with this one. They're not imagining that they've done something wrong, etc. So, for example, we've had multiple cases like this where employees are invited to a disciplinary hearing. So you've conducted your investigation, now you're moving on to the more formal part of the process, which is the disciplinary itself. And then straight away afterwards, the employee goes off sick, and then you get a GP fit note saying that they've been signed off with work-related stress or something else to that effect. Now, we have to remember that GPs will only respond and only give out information that the employee is prepared to share with them. So do keep that in mind. So it's very important that we go into these situations with an open mind to find out what the actual problem is. Anyway, what happens to the disciplinary process as a result? So obviously the process stalls because the employee is not prepared to enter into those conversations while they're off sick, which is understandable. Then days turn into weeks, weeks turn into months. And with people being able to go off long-term sick for like up to 28 weeks, you're paying them statutory sick pay during that time. So what the business owner generally will come to us and say is like, Natalie, what have I done wrong? And the answer is you haven't done anything wrong. It's because the employee just doesn't know how to respond or react to that particular situation most of the time. So the timing of a sick note doesn't make a disciplinary process disappear. That's the first thing to remember. So it doesn't mean that the underlying issue goes away or the reason that you've addressed the situation in the first place, it doesn't absolve that. So it doesn't mean that you're trapped indefinitely with zero options. There are absolutely options we can take. But what it does mean is that we have to handle this process fairly and very, very carefully. So this is when people tend to get Faye and I engaged, and then what we'll do is we'll run through that process and the various steps that we can take. Might be occupational health, for example, that we can do to be able to try and get to the bottom of it, because realistically managers don't want to be in that situation any more than what the employee does. So we've supported these business owners and managers through this situation multiple times, more times than I've had hot dinners. And the ones that struggle are either the ones that panic or they drop the process completely. So then you've got the other extreme where people just crack on, and that's when you find the procedural mistakes that then undermine what would have been actually a fair case in the first place. So you have to be mindful of these pieces. So, well, what happens to the employee during this time? Well, obviously they get a bit of a breather, but it is also the duty of care to the employer to make sure they're getting the right support during that process. All of which are things that we can help you with. So, what I must highlight is that obviously genuine illness does deserve that compassion. So don't just go in and make a quick judgment, or certainly don't put it in writing, as quite a few people tend to do at that point, because there can be a lot of fallout that comes with that. But a good HR consultant will help you and make sure that you're doing things in the right way the first time around, so you're not having to backtrack, because backtracking then becomes very expensive. So anyway, that is my little tip of the day. I hope you found this video useful, and I will see you again in the next one.